Hello, this is Ken Ferrie with this week's Boots in the Field report. Mother Nature continues to throw punches at this crop. Our yield potential is no doubt taking some hits. This week we spent some time assessing wind and hail damage from several storms. The areas to the south dealt with some severe hail damage. Both corn and beans looked tough, but no doubt the cornfields took it the hardest. 2 to 3 inch hail coupled with 88-mile-an-hour winds just destroyed some of these fields. Now, my motto is never walk away from a growing crop. The key is a growing crop. Some of these fields will be zeroed out, I'm sure. On other fields that didn't take the direct hit of these storms, they're going to need to be watched as the growing season marches on. Managing both disease and insects, making sure these fields get pollinated. Stress before pollination slows things down and will lead to a prolonged pollination window. So a low population of silk clippers could be a problem. Early planted beans that got hailed off will most likely give up that early flowering premium that we're used to. Unfortunately, early flowering beans are not part of the hail chart numbers. I do expect some strong recovery in these beans, but think of them more as mid-May beans. I think our premium was wiped away in the storm. The loss of canopy is going to lead to weed outbreaks once the soil-applied residual is given up. So even if the field is zeroed out, we're still going to have to manage these weeds so we don't build our weed bank for next year. As I'm driving the countryside, making service calls, what looked like a great start to the 26 crop a month ago, boy, has drastically changed. The good field now is the one that catches your eye. Now, these good fields are all tied to good drainage. Let's talk about beans first. Seeing many fields showing yellowing, especially in the low ground. Growers calling in are asking, are these beans caught in a carbon penalty? Well, the answer is sort of. These beans are too big to be caught in a carbon penalty. At this stage, they should be producing enough of their own N to meet the plant needs. When you look at the nodules on these beans, they're black, not pink, indicating that poor to no nitrogen is being produced. The rhizobia bacteria that live in the nodules and produce the nitrogen we need are aerobic, meaning they need oxygen. The saturated soils have killed the rhizobic bacteria off. When it quits raining, the population will rebuild. This process could take 10 days to 2 weeks after it quits raining. On bean disease front, the most common disease we're seeing on service calls is Fusarium wilt. Plants are healthy on Monday, and they're wilted by Friday. When scouting these fields, you'll see no symptoms on the stem from the ground line up, ruling out phytophthora. No symptoms from the ground line down, ruling out rhizoctonia. But if you split the taproot open, slice some of the small roots open, you'll see they have a brown center. And the root system is going to be poorly nodulated. If you see an outburst of white roots at the soil surface, some of those plants could survive. I've seen it before. They sometimes have what we call a Lazarus moment and recover. But if there's no new root growth at the base of that plant, it's most likely going to stay wilted and get crunchy. Now, the good thing about losing plants now is neighboring plants have time to branch out and attempt to fill in and recover some of that yield. Now, in some cases, we are seeing phytophthora, but I have not yet seen red root rot, but I'm sure it's going to be coming. A lot of guys questioning with early planted beans now at full R2, will we see white mold? With this kind of moisture and the cool nights, I don't think there's any way around white mold. If you have fields with a history of white mold, it might be a good time to start initiating some of the white mold sprays. Another question with beans under stress or in full R2, what should we do with the water hemp pressure? Should we wait for the beans to come out of this stress? I would spray the weeds when you can get them sprayed. Don't worry about the beans. Well, the question is, won't I knock off the flowers like on my non-GMO beans if I spray now? Yes, but you don't have any options unless you own a row crop cultivator and have a bean walking team lined up. Good news, today I saw water hemp showing stress that had been covered by water for a week. Well, unfortunately, it's still alive. Too bad we couldn't get those genetics in our crops. Weed harvest will be kicking off here locally. We have plenty of moisture to get these double crop beans up and running. Seeing many cornfields with water damage and corn turning yellow. Low-lying areas where the whole corn plant is pale green to yellow, top to bottom, those areas are out of oxygen, again due to saturation. Those plants will eventually show some almost orange color on those lower leaves, and at that point their days are numbered. Many of them will die out or be basically non-productive. Corn that has a green bottom with a yellow top, that's sulfur deficiency, plus you'd see some striping in that. And the sulfur was probably lost either to leaching or gassing off if the water was standing. Now, some of the worst fields I've visited are ones where growers pulled the dry out for cost savings and forgot to replace the ammonium sulfate that was in their dry spread. On those fields, throwing in a little ATS in the side dress will help. The fields that are light green on top but showing leaf burning down the midrib at the bottom, they are nitrogen deficient. Pulling some nitrates in these fields would be a good idea. We have a long way to go to the finish line, so don't walk away from it. In some areas, the corn is caught because we can't get our side dressing done based on how wet the field is. And typically that's why I like 2/3 of my nitrogen on early, and I like to side dress kernel filling in that you're not going to need till August. If you're side dressing plant building in, we can't let this corn set idle for too long waiting for nitrogen. If you're waiting for your field to dry out so you can put nitrogen on through your center pivot, it might be a good time to think about flying some N on to hold this corn until you can get dry enough to run the pivot. If the corn has ran past your side dress capabilities, or you think it might by the time it dries out, now's a good time to implement Plan B. And that's going to be high clearance applicators to get in there or bring in the airplanes. In 2015, we did a lot of aerial application of urea after 16 inches of rain, and in the fall, that paid big dividends. If you're going by air, the time to get that done is before every airplane in the country switches over to spray fungicides. I don't think there's any way around that either, guys. We are going to deal with tar spot and northern leaf blight. We need those planes when that hits the fan. Guys are asking about throwing fungicide in the post-herbicide program on corn. If that's not going to replace fungicide at VT and or R3 spraying, it might be a good approach. You have the application cost covered with your herbicide program, so putting a fungicide in there is going to be quite a bit cheaper. Doing this boots in the field report, I feel like the Grim Reaper. I'm thinking about going back to Canada fishing and hope this all clears up when I get back. Soil testing crews are pushing hard to find dry ground to get your testing done. In some fields now, we are in what we call the tall bean mode, where we change our procedure a little. Still get good results, but it does slow us down some. I ask for your patience as the crews work through this. If you're tired of looking at water damage and want a break, come to the Farm Journal Corn Soybean College. As you travel through central Illinois, you'll realize you're not alone. If the crop in your area is just drop dead gorgeous, come to the Corn College. In your travels, you'll realize just how lucky you are and how good you have it. With that said, the boys have got the campus in good shape, so we'll have a lot of things to show you when you get here. So just go to our website, croptechconsulting.com, click on the Corn Soybean College tab. You can see our 2-day agenda and get yourself registered. To stay up to date, check out our website at croptechinc.com and subscribe to our podcast, Boots in the Field Report. Keep her safe, keep her moving.